We need to talk about the Antichrist. You guys are probably getting so sick of me talking about religion, but it's just so important to talk about right now. Various interpretations of Scripture, and especially end time Scripture, tell us one, what most Republicans are going to do and why they're going to do it. This has a lot to do, for instance, with how Project 2025 was constructed. And two, it's the most effective weapon in changing hearts and minds. As a former conservative, it was my interpretation of Scripture that changed before my politics changed. I know there's not a lot of hearts left to change, but quiet Christians might be our best chance in stopping this right now. All right, back to the Antichrist. For as long as I can remember, evangelical Americans have railed against globalism. I remember watching Trinity Broadcast Network as a kid, and I'm pretty sure it's all they talked about. Everything was tied to it, even abortion. The most obsessed with it, or the one that capitalized on it the most, was, and I think still is, John Hagee. Here's a quick clip.
The Bible proves that the Jewish people are the most unique people on the face of the earth. They are a chosen people. They are a covenant people. They are a cherished people. They are the apple of God's eye. The unchallengeable fact of the Bible is that Israel and the Jewish people are unique. Listen, Israel did not choose this uniqueness. God chose it for them. Listen to David's prayer in 1 Chronicles 17:20. It's one of the most powerful words in the Scripture. O Lord, there is none like you, nor is there any God beside you. And who is like your people Israel? Listen, the one nation on the earth whom God went to redeem for himself as a people. Chosen and still cherished.
See, John Hagee is the founder of Christians United for Israel, the largest Zionist organization in the U.S. He's made millions off this rhetoric, and it's been the backbone for decades of a modern end times prophecy outline for American evangelicals. John believes that globalism is the ultimate evil, that it'll be used by the Antichrist, and that he will use it to implement a new world order and force everyone under his tyrannical wing, and that it's imminent, that it'll happen really soon. A lot of their basis for this is in Genesis 11, the story of the Tower of Babel. They think that God said unification is bad and we need to separate you to control evil. And then many of the modern interpretations come from a wrongful interpretation of Revelation 13 and the mark of the beast. Well, over the last decade or so, this belief system has been forced to reckon with quite a bit of cognitive dissonance. See, evangelicals are supposed to be raptured up before all the bad stuff happens because they think they're special. But then Donald Trump entered the picture. Trump is a bad dude and they know it. But he was also promising to dismantle the evil globalist New World Order. Well, how can this be? There must be something they missed. After all, Jesus should be the one defeating the Antichrist, and they should all be gone when he does. So they needed a new figure, and they went with I guess, John the Baptist type, except a John the Baptist that slept with porn stars and essayed women. The Antichrist must have been so strong that Jesus needed a blunt force object to destroy him, because apparently Jesus isn't strong enough himself. And this is how many of them are able in their minds to excuse all of this brutality. Of course, many of them also like it, because this is spiritual warfare and Trump may need to break some rules to defeat it. The Bible describes the lawless one being defeated, and they tie this to Trump's law and order rhetoric. And here we are today with Trump breaking the system.
We knew the story of the international rules-based order was partially false, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically. And we knew that international law applied with varying rigor depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. This fiction was useful. And American hegemony in particular helped provide public goods, open sea lanes, a stable financial system, collective security, and support for frameworks for resolving disputes. So we placed the sign in the window. We participated in the rituals. And we largely avoided calling out the gaps between rhetoric and reality. This bargain no longer works. let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. Over the past 2 decades, a series of crises in finance, health, energy, and geopolitics have laid bare the risks of extreme global integration. But more recently, great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons. Tariffs as leverage, financial infrastructure as coercion, supply chains as vulnerabilities to be exploited. You cannot live within the lie of mutual benefit through integration when integration becomes the source of your subordination.
The irony in all this is, of course, that there's a much simpler way to make Trump part of Revelation. And I think we all know what that is. Here's a couple of verses that describe the Antichrist or lawless one. And I should note that we don't even know if they're talking about the same person or anyone at all. These are all from Revelation 13. The beast was given a mouth uttering haughty and blasphemous words. It opened its mouth to utter blasphemies against God, blaspheming his name and his dwelling. It was also allowed to make war on the saints and to conquer them. It was given authority over every tribe, people, and language and nation. It performs great signs, even making fire come down from heaven to earth in sight of all. And by the signs that it is allowed to perform on behalf of the beast, it deceives the inhabitants of earth, telling them to make an image for the beast that has been wounded and yet lived. Remember, this beast had a mortal wound that it somehow survived from. And as we saw in the Carney speech, we do in fact have a new world order implemented by one man. Trump is the literal antithesis of Jesus Christ himself. Now, I'm not trying to say that Scripture says Trump is the Antichrist, although every day that passes, I start to wonder more and more. It's that we need to understand this worldview in order to confront it. And if it takes Scripture to do so, then so be it. Once again, guys, I really appreciate it if you click the link on my profile and subscribe to my Substack. Thank you.